Hi, my name is Bill Starr here at MassHire. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be going over a presentation regarding the interview and sharing some tips and best practices for successful interviewing, as the slide in front of us is showing. So thank you for joining us, and if you have any questions, feel free to check out MassHire online, give their Career Center a call, or stop by here at 340 Main Street. Always happy and willing to help anybody that comes in. So let's get started. So the interview, we're going to go over pre-interview in terms of what to do before the interview up to the time you arrive for your appointment. During the interview, what to do during the interview from the moment you walk into the building to the end of the actual interview. Post-interview, what to do after the interview from the moment you walk out of the interview and beyond. First thing is doing a self-assessment. So it's important to know your skills and abilities, as well as your strengths and weaknesses, preferences and requirements for the job. And there are a lot of tools and resources to help you kind of prepare that type of information. Some of those include MassCIS and ONET, SDS and Myers-Briggs, or Coursera. These are all great tools online that you can look into for various information, again, to help you get ready for different types of jobs and or interviews. So it's important to know how you match up. Review the job description for key skills and qualifications for the specific job that you're going to be interviewing for, as well as you want to identify your abilities and experience, and that your experiences are a good match to that particular role. It's also important to know the company you're going to be interviewing with. So you want to make sure you do conduct research to understand the company or organization. Again, there are a lot of tools and resources to do that as well. Just go on the company website, check out LinkedIn, as well as other social media related to them. And Glassdoor.com is another great website to read employer reviews and also learn more information about particular companies or organizations. When you do go to the interview, you want to make sure that you have prepared answers and be ready to answer some common interview questions. You can Google interview questions. They'll give you a good sense of, again, some of the basic interview questions that are very common in most interviews. You do want to make sure you create a list with your responses to those types of questions, as well as develop specific examples that back up your responses. You do want to be prepared to address weaknesses. And that is, and again, that's again very much expected. None of us are perfect, so again, it's important to be prepared to talk about some of the weaknesses that you have identified, and how you do kind of address those things in your day to day. And then of course you do always want to make sure you end on a positive note. Practice by rehearsing your answers. That, like I said, that'll obviously give you a leg up in terms of, again, seeming prepared. You do want to make sure there's no negativity. Again, always stay positive, and you do want to know how to and practice how to close the interview on a positive note, as it says. So again, preparing your answers is a great first step. You want to ask yourself, what did I do in my previous jobs and experiences? What knowledge, skills, traits, or abilities did I use to do those different tasks? What resources or technology did I use to do it? How did I go about doing it, or what steps did I follow to do it? Who did I do it with or for, and where did I do it? You do want to make sure you add in value as well. So quantifying your results by providing data about your contributions to an employer's bottom line in terms of productivity, time, cost, and quality. It's always important to highlight how you contributed in those areas. You can use facts and figures that incorporate different types of numbers related to volume, frequency, or again, anything related to the bottom line of how you help that company achieve goals. You can also use percentages or even just dollars saved, depending on what you did in the position to help achieve those types of things. Also, this is another great tip that we have. It's called using STAR. And so it's just an acronym, and the way that we use it is to describe the situation, discuss the tasks that needed to be accomplished, State what actions you took to perform that task and share the results of your actions. These are, again, some 10 common questions. As I mentioned before, you can Google common interview questions, and this is very similar to what would come up. But again, just as an example, a lot of times employers are going to ask you to tell them about yourself. What is the greatest achievement that you have had in your career so far? Giving them an example about a time that you helped save the company or organization you were with, time or money. What is your greatest strength that you do bring to the table? Also, they're probably going to want to know about your different types of computer skills. Also, they always a lot of times like to know about a time where you had to handle a challenging coworker or customer. Also, if you can describe a time when you went above and beyond the call of duty outside of the normal responsibilities of the role that you had, and what you believe is your professional weakness. We talked about that a little bit before as well. Where you see yourself in 5 years, and why do you want to work for this company? Again, these are all very common interview questions. And as I said, you do want to practice and have ready-made responses ready to go for the interview. These are examples of legal questions that employers are not supposed to ask you. That can include race, color, ancestry, place of origin, your age, your political beliefs, religion, marital status, whether you have children or if you are currently pregnant, if you have any type of disability, sexual orientation, unrelated convictions, or any type of addictions. If an employer does ask any of these questions, a good counter question to come back with is, could you tell me how my blank might have any bearing on the job I am applying for? As we talked about, you do want to prepare your questions in advance that you are going to ask of the employer. You do want to ask questions that demonstrate your interest in the company and the job. Make sure that they are, again, relevant to the specific organization and position that you are applying for. You do typically want to ask questions about money or benefits. If that comes up during a conversation that the interviewer asks, certainly okay to talk about it, but not something that you want to ask about yourself. So again, as we talked about, preparing your questions when you go in there for some of the things you probably want to know. Again, what specifically that company does. Again, you should have a general idea of that before you go into the interview, but it certainly asks, okay to ask a more specific question related to, how they do that and what exactly they do on a day-to-day basis. It's also great to know how many employees are working there, who are their competitors, what type of company history they have, or what their future plans are. If they have any, particular contacts that would be useful for you to know about, and what are some of the recent employment trends at that particular organization. Again, you can find a lot of this information out and speak to it by accessing local media, coming to their career center, going to their company website, looking at informational interviews, and as well as Google and LinkedIn. So it is important to not ask questions that can be answered by simple research. Highlights, a lack of prep, shows a lack of interest, and you certainly don't want to see somebody wasting their time that didn't do that initial prep work to be well prepared for that interview. In terms of what to bring to the interview, you want to always make sure that you do have a copy of the job posting, as well as copies of your resume and cover letter, a list of references if they do ask for that. Make sure you have pen and paper for note taking, a personal calendar in case there is any follow-up appointments to make. Of course, you could do it on your phone as well, but you typically don't want to have your phone on during the interview. But again, it would be okay to bring it out at the end to make appointments in your personal calendar. It also is important to have information for completing an application or other relevant documentation when you go in there. And it's always helpful to have some cheat notes and questions for the interview. Again, not typically on you, but in your mind, ready to go. When you arrive for the interview, extremely important to always be on time. or even be a little bit punctual. Make sure you're courteous to everyone you come into contact with. Everybody in the company is, typically always watching, whether, it seems that way or not. First impressions are extremely important. Make sure you do check your appearance. And again, make sure that your phone is not on, so there are no distractions during the actual interview taking place. When you're in the interview, do be aware of your nonverbal signals, facial expressions, body language, and gestures. Again, you just want to be cognizant of those types of things. Make sure that you keep yourself professional, interested, engaged. Looking at like while you're in the interview the entire time. Also important to be aware of your vocal tone, the volume and pace. Do try to match the interviewer. They do appreciate that. It just helps the interview, flow that much more smoothly. Make sure you do listen carefully and respond positively to those interviewers' questions. And do pay attention to the interviewer's nonverbal cues as well. When you're in the interview as well, focus on answers and the needs of the employer. Give examples and provide details that illustrate your skills and achievements. Ask insightful questions showing your knowledge of the job and the research of the company. Again, as we talked about, it's very important to have questions ready to go, and those questions are to be relevant to the job itself as well as the organization. As far as closing the interview, once it is completed, do confirm the follow-up time frame and the contact information of any individuals that you did interview with. Do provide references if those are asked for. Make sure you restate your interest in the position and why you feel you are the ideal candidate. Again, want to make sure you are, concise in these statements. You don't want to, talk just to talk, but it is important to, again, reiterate why you are a great fit for the job. Make sure you thank the interviewers for their time. Shake the interviewer's hand if they're open to that, and do remember to smile. When you have completed the interview and after you got home, had a chance to evaluate your performance, make sure you do alert your references if those were asked for, and so they have the heads up that they may be getting communication from that interviewer about your particular interview. And make sure you do send a thank you note and or an email to the employer after the interview. They do very much appreciate that. There is a link here to a sample thank you letter. You can click on this and it will bring you to a website that gives you an example of that. And again, make sure you do follow up with the employer within a few days of the interview, just to make sure that you stay top of mind for them. And that concludes the information for this particular presentation. Again, as I stated in the beginning, if you have any questions, do please check us out at MassHire online. Give the Career Center a call anytime or stop by at 340 Main Street. Thanks so much for your time and have a great rest of your day. All right, we're good, Louis.